Hello everyone, welcome to the long-awaited Q&A video. I asked a few months ago actually, when I hit 1,000 subs, so thank you so much for that. But I asked for some questions and I compiled them all, and I've got a long list of questions from my viewers, so thank you guys so much. It's pretty crazy to have 1,000 subscribers. Doesn't really feel real, but this video might be long. I have no idea, so we'll see. But the first question comes from Dat1Phoenix173, and he asked, "What got you into records?" So this was around 4 years ago. I was really into music, and I loved music, and my mom said, "Hey, why don't you collect records?" Because that makes sense. And they had some of their records still, like from when they were young. And this is one of the first ones I ever saw. This is one of the first vinyl records I ever saw, actually. This is an original copy of Hotel California by the Eagles. A classic album. And of course, a great album. But yeah, saw this and I thought it was really cool, so I decided that I would start to collect them, and now I'm here with a room full of records. The second question comes from Enders357, and it says, "When did you start collecting and how many records do you have?" So I got my record player on Christmas of 2019, so we're coming up on 5 years, which is pretty crazy, but you know, it's been around 4.5 years. And right now I have 750 records, which seems like a lot, but I always need more, and everyone has so many, and it's like, oh, I don't know. Like, my room is packed. I need to build another shelf, but yeah, right now I'm sitting at 750. The next question is, have you ever had a massive collection of records gifted to you? This is from Got to Get It 4142, and yes, I have. As I mentioned before, it was from my parents, so completely free. And I'll tie in the next question. Where did you gain your musical influences? This was asked by Mark 2B07 and Paul B111. So I totally got a lot of my musical influences from my parents. So we'll finally show some more records here. This is a Japanese pressing of Moving Pictures by Rush. My dad bought this in the 80s, I believe. Rush became one of my favorite bands. I've seen them live like 3 times when I was pretty young, so I don't really remember it fully, but yeah, Rush is just incredible. I love Rush so much, and this is just an amazing album. Another one I remember hearing a lot when I was a kid, Fragile by Yes. Again, just an incredible album. My dad is really into progressive rock, so yeah, just a ridiculously good album. Amazing. This is one of my favorite albums ever made. These two are, and I know it's not something that I talk about too often, but yeah, those are certainly big influences. And then from my mom's side, I had more of this kind of music, Crosby, Stills and Nash, the self-titled. Again, just an incredible record. Ridiculous. I got tickets to see Graham Nash coming up here, so I'm very excited for that. But yeah, incredible record. Just a fantastic album. And also from my mom and from my dad too, obviously, because of this. This is a Japanese pressing of Led Zeppelin 2 that my dad bought in the 80s. My mom's seen Led Zeppelin live. My dad loves them. This is my favorite album of theirs. So yeah, that's definitely where I got a lot of my music taste, but I also had a Beatles obsession. So I'll just hold up this record. I listened to this album every single day, twice, in middle school. I'd get on the bus in the morning. I had a really long bus ride, so I'd play the album and I'd listen to the whole thing. And then I'd get to school, and then on my way home, if I didn't feel like talking, I would put this album on. That was literally every day for months. Every single morning, I put this album on. And I had a Beatles obsession. It was ridiculous. I think for about a year or a year and a half, they're the only thing I listened to at all. Like when I was like 12 years old. Um, just loved the Beatles, and then that kind of opened up to bands like the Kinks, the Who. Then I got into like Bob Dylan and stuff like that. Just yeah, mainly the Beatles. I'm also a drummer and a guitar player, so one of the most influential albums to me that sort of expanded my whole mind was this one, Are You Experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. This is an original US copy in the shrink wrap. The guitar playing of Jimi Hendrix is just ridiculous. He is absolutely my favorite guitar player. And if you ever listen to me play guitar, which I don't know, maybe you will at some point, rock guitar, Jimi is my biggest influence. This Jimi and also this Jimi. The two Jimmys, these are my biggest guitar influences. And then drums, Mitch Mitchell is definitely one of my biggest, and John Bonham is also one of my biggest influences, along with Ringo. I wouldn't play drums if it weren't for Ringo. So I got really into, like, guitar music, obviously, because I love the guitar, so this is just an essential. Another big musical influence for me was my friend Matthew at yesterday's trips. So I actually got him into music. We've been friends for a very long time. Back in middle school, I think. I think he said I was singing Strawberry Fields, and he went and listened to it, and that's his introduction to music. But he's showed me so many albums that I've really, really grown to love. And then Noble Records had a ridiculous influence on my music. It's kind of crazy. So I loved that, that psychedelic era of the Beatles and stuff. But Matthew sent me Noble Records' Intro to Psych video, and I just took all those albums and I put them in my want list and listened to the heck out of them, and they're great. And then my best friend Lauren has had a massive influence on my music lately. Like, she loves all the classic rock stuff, and I kind of went back and rediscovered it with her, and it's just amazing. So yeah, that's definitely kind of the span of that musical influence, but that will lead us into the next question. The next question was asked again by Dat1Phoenix173, and they asked, what got you into psych? So, as I mentioned before, definitely the Beatles. This album isn't really psych, but it's kind of getting there, and I was obsessed with it. But this album, I wanted to explore more Beatles music after I listened to this album every day for a year. So I was like, okay, well, where do I go next? This one had a really cool album cover, and it was the one that came out after it. So I was like, yeah, sure. And yeah, fell in love with this one too. This one, probably a little bit less than that one, but like for like 2 months straight, it was Revolver every morning. Tracks like I'm Only Sleeping, She Said, and of course, Tomorrow Never Knows. I vividly remember the first time I heard Tomorrow Never Knows. It blew my mind on that school bus. And then, these are probably a little bit left curve for first psychedelic albums, but Mighty Baby, actually. So I was just on Spotify, and I used to play video games with my friends, and I'd put on albums on Spotify, and This was before I saw the Noble Records video, where I think he recommended both the albums about the show. I just stumbled upon these on Spotify. It said the band was called Mighty Baby. It looked really cool. It said it came out in 1971. So I said, yeah, I'll listen to that. This is a Trading Places reissue, I believe, 2021 or something. But the song Egyptian Tomb, I just completely fell in love with that song. It's a great, great psychedelic track. And then this one is even weirder for one that I found randomly. This just came up on Spotify, St. John Green's self-titled. A great psych record, so weird. I don't know how this got me into psych, but like, there was The Devil in the Sea and the song St. John Green and Spirited Now. Like, this album just, I thought the cover was so cool. I thought the music was so weird, and I really liked it. So that's pretty much what got me into psych. It was the Beatles first, and Jimi Hendrix maybe, and then I got into some weird stuff, and that kind of stuck with me. The next question comes from I like that _record, and they ask, what 3 records would you grab in a fire? This is a ridiculously hard question for me to answer. I don't know. Assuming that after all my records burn in a fire, I could go back and rebuy, my records. I have a lot of sentimental connection with, like, a ton of my records, because a lot of them did come from my parents, but I don't really know how to answer this question. So I just picked 3 that I would have a very hard time replacing, and ones that I would very, very much miss. Number 1, Introspection by The End. I got so into this album. It's crazy, and I listen to it all the time. Just this spent so much time on my turntable. Got a pretty good deal on this, but yeah, very rare, very hard to find. These next 2 I kind of picked because of the story of how I found them and the deal that I got. This is Funkadelic Maggot Brain, an original pressing on Westbound. I paid $5 for this in an antique store. I have a YouTube video where I talked about this. It's pretty old, but yeah, pretty crazy deal on that. I have the receipt in here, which I will show you because I always love pulling that out. $5.30 for the Funkadelic vinyl album. This was just an incredible find. I wasn't even supposed to be, digging for records that day. I had school, and I was out because I was out with my mom because I had a little knee injury, and decided to go into an antique store, and very glad I did. And then this next one I found this year, and I'm holding it and looking at it, and I still can't believe I own it. This is Easter Everywhere by the 13th Floor Elevators. I paid $15 for this at Zia Records, which is insane. It's an original pressing on International Artists, and it's the first pressing with the Posturos misprint, and it's got the inner sleeve in there, and it's not a near mint copy by any means, but paying $15 for this is absolutely ridiculous. It could be worse. It's got some pretty nasty marks. It's got 1 skip, but yeah, $15. I'm never gonna complain, especially about finding an album like this. Just insane find, and I don't know if I'll ever really have a find that good for a while now. Alright, the next question is from Toby Bonzo 7869. I'm sorry if I mispronounce any of your names. I'm trying my best. But what is the most you spent on one record and why? This is the most I've ever spent on a record. This is SF Sorrow by The Pretty Things. I dropped $90 on this, which is really crazy to say, and I don't like to talk about prices all the time. But yeah, I figured I'd just tell you for the Q&A video, and this is a near mint copy. Incredible, incredible album. Why did I spend that much? Because this was the number one record on my want list. It had been completely eluding me. I wanted it so bad. I streamed it all the time, like once a week, at least. Yeah, and in terms of psychedelic rock, this is one of the greatest albums ever released in the psychedelic genre. And just ever, in my opinion. This is just such a fantastic album. This was in a store, and it was listed at like $125, and I kept going back to it and holding it because I'd never seen one before. I talked to my dad, and I was like, "This is literally my number one want ever." And the store owner said, "How much could you pay for it?" And I said, "The most I would pay for this is $90." And they said, "I'll do it." So, yeah, $90 on one record, but in my opinion, very justified. Now, the next question comes from Enders357, and they are asking, are you into any modern psych or any modern music at all? The short answer is kind of. I enjoy it. I like bands like the Flaming Lips. I know that's not really modern anymore because they were kind of a 90s group. Yeah, if I hear modern psych, I'm not turning it off, you know. I enjoy it. I don't really seek it out or listen to it that much. But in terms of modern music, this is pretty much the artist that I'm the most into out of any modern artist. Bruno Major. I've talked about this album before. This album's called Columbo. It came out last year, and incredible. Ridiculously good songwriting. He's a great guitar player too, and he, yeah, just writes some really beautiful songs. And he has a very vintage feel to his music, but still sounds very modern. And this vinyl pressing sounds amazing. I know if you've watched my video on it, I've heard, or you've already heard me talk about this album. This is 100% from my best friend Lauren. Talking about my musical influences before. She showed me this, and we listened to it so much, and it's just such a great, great album. The next question comes from Firemoon42, and they ask, your top 5 krautrock wants. Number 1 is probably Virus. Thoughts, the album by Virus. Yeah, that's just an incredible krautrock album. King Heroin, amazing song. Guru Guru, UFO, really heavy, really great, great album. Iggy Bamyasi by Can, a classic. Everyone, wants that. But yeah, to find a US pressing of that would be great. From Books and Dreams by Message, has a really, really, really cool album cover. And then Electrip by Zol Caravan. I listened to that a while ago, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And then Embryo by the band Opal. Really, really, really great. Just a fantastic album that I listened to. And yeah, I mean, I'm not too into krautrock, but if I could snap my finger and have 5, that's probably the ones I'd pick. And continuing with things I want, if I could have any 3 UK releases, what would I want? And that was from Nigel Campag 1290. Nigel watches my videos all the time, so thank you. I see your comments all the time. I always love reading them. And then the second question that kind of ties into this one is, what is the record you want the most? And that was from Noel White 6650, or Noel, sorry. So the 3 UK releases I would want the most are July by July, the self-titled 1968 psych album that I listen to so much. I stream it all the time. It's incredible. I would pick Arzachel, 1969, I believe. A crazy, crazy album. But that album is probably number 1 on my want list at the moment. and for a long time, but it's just so hard to get a copy of that. I would love to get a US press. The UK press is way out of my price range. I'm never going to be able to get one of those. Number 3, Pink Moon by Nick Drake. One of my favorite albums. I'd put that in my top 10 favorite albums easily. Got really into it recently. I don't even have a vinyl copy of it. I don't have a reissue. I don't know if I'm holding out for original or what I'm doing, but it's just an incredible album. Probably won't own an original UK, but maybe the US pressing I'll have one day. That would be amazing. And then the album I want the most, probably Earth Angel or Pink Moon. It might be Pink Moon now. It probably is. I almost made a top 10 most wants video when I was away and didn't have my records, because I thought it would be, easy, because I wouldn't have to bring any records to show. But yeah, I'd probably say Pink Moon now, honestly. It's just an incredible, incredible album. The next question comes from Mike M3695, and they ask me who my favorite prog artist is. Now, I cannot pick. I love progressive rock. But I took out 4 artists here that I could say are probably my favorite in the genre. King Crimson, of course. This album is my profile picture, and this exact copy is actually my profile picture. Just a ridiculously good band. Again, I keep saying that, I'm sorry, but I love all this music that I'm showing, and this one especially. Crazy album. Phenomenal. Another one from artist I already showed, Rush. Definitely one of my favorite prog rock bands. Rush gets hate sometimes, and I don't get it. I really don't get it. I guess it's Geddy Lee's voice, but if you talk about, like, what band has the most talent out of any bands, it might be Rush. It just might be Rush, because, my goodness, Geddy Lee is playing the keyboard, singing, and playing the bass with his feet at the same time. It's ridiculous. And then Alex Lifeson is playing these incredible guitar riffs while playing keyboard things with his feet, and then Neil Peart has a wall of drums around him. These albums are just some of my favorites of all time, and yeah, definitely in the prog rock genre. Incredible. These are all Japanese pressings from my dad, because he's kind of crazy about Rush. He's probably the biggest Rush fan on the planet. But yeah, this is Hemispheres 2112, Farewell to Kings. So good. So good. And then another one that got from my parents, of course, but this is an obvious answer for me. Yes, this is Close to the Edge. I'm not sure if I like Close to the Edge or Fragile more. I can't really tell. It's probably Fragile. But Yes is in my top 10 bands for sure. They are just incredible, and again, talking about talent in a group, it's so talented. This one's a little more on the obscure side, as in I hadn't heard of them before I started collecting records, but they are just fantastic. Need more of their stuff. Caravan, 100% one of my favorite prog bands. This is In the Land of the Grey and Pink, and this is the one that came after it, Waterloo Lily. Both fantastic albums. This is a promo copy on that London Records label. This one in particular, my goodness. It has Winter Wine, one of my favorite progressive rock songs. In the Land of Grey and Pink, obviously. Side 2 features the 9 Feet Underground medley, which clocks in at 22 minutes and 40 seconds. Masterpiece. Absolute masterpiece. This one's great too. Love it so much. This next question comes from the North Carolina Vinyl Picker. And they ask, have you ever found a copy of Quatermass? Yeah. This is a pretty decent copy. Not the best, but not horrible either. And it was a pretty good deal at one of my local record shops. So I decided to pick it up. And yeah, it's a great prog album. Great stuff. The next question comes from Pole Potter 3951, which is an interesting name. They asked me to show Jefferson Airplane albums. Now, my Jefferson Airplane collection is kind of sad. I just haven't really picked them up for whatever reason. Of course, I've got this one, but I have a reissue, 80s reissue, I believe, Best Buy series. This album's incredible. Obviously, I love it. I love the San Francisco sound. I love this album, but I just haven't upgraded to an original yet. I bought this a long time ago for pretty cheap. And then another one I got after bathing at Baxter's. I haven't listened to this in like a couple of years, probably. I've heard people say this is their favorite. I didn't really get it when I listened to it, but I've got to hear it again because it's been too long. And then a great one, Volunteers. Got this for like $2 a while ago, and it's a great Jefferson Airplane album. I don't know why I don't have more. I still need like Crown of Creation. They're self-titled, I think, or no, Jefferson Airplane Takes Off is what it's called. Yeah, I just need to get more, and I need to listen to them more, honestly. They're a great band, but I don't really listen to them too often. The next question comes from Craig Sandry, 6736, and they ask, what Australian albums do you own? And my Australian collection is kind of sad, honestly. Could have much more. I would love to get some Australian albums. I don't have any Australian original pressings, but there's a couple that I really would like to get. But first, I'll show you the ones I have. The Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind, an Australian band, of course featuring George Young, who's the older brother of Angus and Malcolm of AC/DC, which I do have some AC/DC albums. This is my favorite Easy Beats album. I don't know if they get much better than this. I paid up for this copy at a flea market a while ago. I mainly have it for the song Friday on My Mind. That is one of my favorite tracks. It's a bit spotty. It's got some other good tracks. But yeah, it's a pretty cool album to own. I really like the cover. It looks pretty psychedelic. And then another Australian group, the Bee Gees. This is the Bee Gees' first original US stereo. Incredible album, honestly. I really love this album. There's maybe one track that I don't like. But this album could be had for like $3. And it's just so good. It's such a great pop psych album. And that's my thing. I love the pop psych. I love the British pop psych especially. And this is a fantastic example of that. In terms of Australian albums that I'm looking for, Master's Apprentices stuff, great, fantastic things. I don't own, I don't own those. Those are pretty hard to get, and I'd love to just own any copy of those. And then the band Buffalo, the album Volcanic Rock in particular, fantastic. Would absolutely love to get that. There's an album called Kavas Jute. Great stuff. Michael Turner In Session. I don't believe they released an album, but fantastic. Incredible. And then an honorable mention. This is not an Australian band, but they're from New Zealand, so that's close enough, right? Farmyard. This is a great album. I really enjoy this album. It's released in this gimmicky grocery bag cover. This is a great progressive rock sort of deal. Psychedelic, very psychedelic influenced, progressive flute rock. If you like flute, there's a lot of flute on here. There's a lot of jams. It's really great. I really, really enjoy this album. It's called Farmyard. They're self-titled. They have 2 albums, and I prefer this one. I know a lot of people prefer the second one because I think it's a little bit more hard rock oriented, but this is great. The next question comes from Mr. Rare Prog and Jazz Music. They ask, "Are you into any avant-garde music?" Kind of. The short answer is not really, but also I just don't really have that much of it in my collection. Does this count? Velvet Underground and Nico has some avant-garde moments. I think it counts. I guess I love this album a lot. Definitely need to find more stuff like that. I do actually own an original press. That is the 2008 repress, but it does not have the cover, so I made my own. This is my interpretation of the Andy Warhol artwork, and on the back is a Christian worship album. A very torched, destroyed copy, but I paid $2.50 for it. I don't know if you can see how messed up that is. When I'm talking about Velvet Underground, always gotta share this find. And what would you guys rate my artwork? I think it's pretty good. There is actually a banana under here. I could peel it off, and there is the pink banana is under there. And I made this because Cosmic Brian, who is a great channel here on the VC, he said he usually makes his own album covers if they don't have covers, so decided to make one, and it's as interactive as the original. I own this too, Umagumma by Pink Floyd, or Umagumma, or however you pronounce it. Do I listen to it? Not really. My dad enjoys this album a lot more than I do. I really like the album cover. I think that's pretty cool. I think I would enjoy it if I went back and listened to it now, which I definitely have to. But yeah, very interesting album. This album is not really avant-garde at all, but he makes a lot of avant-garde music that I don't own yet. I am on the lookout for it though. Hot Rats by Frank Zappa. This is an original press I bought for $2.50. This is an incredible album, but I'm looking for albums like Freak Out by the Mothers, and a lot of Mothers stuff, basically. This next question comes from Stephen Kilby7851. I also see you comment all the time, so thank you. But do you have any soundtracks, and what are your favorites? Now, I could cheat and say something like this, Magical Mystery Tour, technically a soundtrack. But I do have some real soundtracks, like The Trip, original motion picture soundtrack by the Electric Flag. I'm actually not sure if I ever showed this in a recent finds, because I wasn't quite sold on it. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it, but this is like in, what is that book? Richard Morton Jack's Psychedelia book, I think. So I decided, you know what, I'll keep it. I'll spin it a few more times. It grew on me a little bit. I don't really have too many soundtracks. I have a lot more ones that are kind of like Magical Mystery Tour or Help or A Hard Day's Night. They're technically soundtracks, but, you know, not really. They kind of are just albums. And the final question on my list comes from Emma B22, and they ask, what is your favorite thing about vinyl? Why did you start your YouTube channel? And how many records are on your one list? I have a bunch of answers, but my usual answer was holding the music, physically being able to hold, you know, the music that you like, that you want to play. I cut this out because I'm going to listen to it. But it's so cool to just hold this record and think about where it's been. Like, how did this Texas psych band, this record was in someone's collection, and then it ended up being sold or given to a record store, and then it came all the way here. It was owned by LCR, They initialed right in the center of the sun, so thank you so much. But their last name is like Ramos, so like it's just so cool to see all that history on an album. And I have on my copy of Silver Apples, it's got the date that the person bought it is written on it. Stuff like that is so cool to me, and I love things like that. But my real true answer to my favorite thing about vinyl is it of the amount of just new music I have learned that I never would have listened to if I didn't start collecting vinyl. Um, I would never have listened to the 13th Floor Elevators or anything of the sort if I didn't start buying vinyl. I don't think I would have ever found it. Um, the reason why I started getting into psych and basically all of the music that I like, the prog, the obscure stuff, it's all because I started collecting vinyl. Like you hear about these records and you hear about, expensive records and stuff, and you want to listen to them because there's got to be a reason why they're expensive, and usually there is. It's just a fantastic album, and they're just incredible music, and there's so much good music out there, so much, and there's so much you can buy for $5 on vinyl. It's ridiculous. Like Moody Blues, fantastic. 10 years after, ridiculous, so good, and you can just buy it for $5. Like you can't even. It's just this just blows my mind, and there's just so much new music that I would have never listened to if I didn't start collecting vinyl. And that's just this music has influenced me so much as a person, like just my way of thinking and all that stuff. Like I don't think I would ever listen to Nick Drake if I didn't start collecting vinyl. It's just it's simple as that. It's just something that's so cool. And also I love the friends I have because of vinyl. Matthew has really stayed one of my best friends because of vinyl. We it's the thing we talk about all the time, obviously. And my best friend Lauren loves vinyl too, and it's just like you can just it's always something to talk about. It's always a talking piece. If I have people over in my room, they're like, "Why do you have 700 records?" And it's like, "Oh, I'll show you." We'll sit here and listen to them all night. That kind of ties into why did you start your YouTube channel? I have always wanted to have a YouTube channel. I did have a YouTube channel. It was like a joke channel. It wasn't really supposed to be anything. And then I used to play video games, and I pretend that I had a YouTube channel. And this just seemed like something I could do. It felt like I have enough knowledge about vinyl, about psychedelic music, about whatever, to where I could talk about it on YouTube, and people would watch it. And started off slow, as it always does, but I can't believe I'm at 1,000 subs. It's ridiculous. Thank you all so much for that. It just blows my mind that I'd ever have a YouTube channel that has 1,000 subscribers, and I'm so grateful for that. And I just think it's the coolest thing ever. And yeah, just one day I was sitting here and I was like, I'm kind of lonely. I want to talk about my records. I don't have really anyone to talk about it with right now. So why don't I just talk to my phone and put it on YouTube? And yeah, I mean, now, I watched Psychedelic's videos way before he watched me, and Vinyl Richie, and it was just so cool to see that, if I ran into them in public, they would recognize me and they'd probably talk to me, and that's just the coolest thing ever. And I would talk to them because it's amazing, and I really like their content. I think they're awesome. I have a blast recording these. I really like them, recording and editing and all that. And then the final question of that 3-part question was, how many records do you have in your want list? And the answer is too many, way too many. If I could delete my whole want list and restart, I would probably do that, because there is 2,491 records in my Discogs want list, which is a problem, and it grows like every day, because I started just putting albums in there that I wanted to listen to, and that's a bad idea. Put in albums that you want to buy, because I have a ton of albums that I've never heard in my want list, and probably some that I don't even like, and I just kind of want to delete my whole want list and start over because it's just got it's just cluttered. It's so cluttered with so much junk and so much stuff that I don't really even know that I want. So, yeah, that brings it to the end of this Q&A video. If you have any more questions, I'll answer them in the comments. You know, feel free to ask. I'll reply to you. I reply to every comment I get. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for all the support. Thank you for 1,000 subs. Thank you for being patient on this video. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, bye.